All right. Hey, what is up, guys? It's Jeffrey here, broker Modern Edge Real Estate, and decided to do some of these tutorial videos to help you guys out when you are trying to convey some information over to your buyers or to your sellers. Now, one of the forms that I always recommend agents use, it doesn't matter if you're on the listing side or if you're on the buying side, more so if you're on the listing side, you should be using this for sure, and that is the estimated cost and net proceeds form. We call it the net sheet. There's a lot of information that you can be conveying over to your sellers, to your buyers, using this form, which gives them an idea of an estimate of how much their closing costs are going to be. And that's something that's really, really important because a lot of times buyers or sellers don't underestimate the amount that their closing costs are going to be at the end of the day. So using this form gives you a great idea to kind of outline it out for them rather than just, sending it via text message or via email or just telling them, which, information can always be conveyed poorly. This will give them a visible sheet that they can be using to kind of have a gist of how much their closing costs are going to be. Now, self-explanatory to fill out, prepared for Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller. Let's do it for the seller side first, and then we'll do it for the buyers. Price, let's just say you're selling a house that's about $300,000 to keep the numbers really simple, 300K. Cool. Property address, 123 Main Street. Well, say we're in Las Vegas, Nevada. And let's go 89118, which is where our office is at. Cool. Terms, let's just say the person is buying this in, let's do a loan. So they're buying this with a conventional loan. Net sheets can be used in multiple times throughout a transaction. You can always do it once where they just want an estimate before listing with you, like, hey, this is how much everything's going to cost. Because every time people always ask, hey, how much am I going to net at the end if I list with you? And this is a good form to use in the beginning. It's also a good form to use when you receive an offer, and then you can draft this based off of the offer as well. So let's go through this list really quickly to get you guys familiar with it. The top portion, whole entire top portion is for the buyer side. Most of the time, sellers are not going to be using this unless for some weird reason in the contract they're paying for something in regards to the buyer's loan. Then it will be in here. If not, it should be blank for both for sellers. This will be filled out for the buyers. Title cost, recording fee. Normally, recording fee ranges anywhere from $50 to $100, maybe even more, depending on the title company. A lot of times, you'll like to get a title quote or use a previous quote from a title company in terms of how much the recording fees are, and just to get an estimate. A lot of times when we're estimating, we like to go a little higher, so we normally do about $150, because you can't really go wrong estimating a little bit more. They get happier when they find out the title fees are lower at the end. They normally get more upset when they find out the title fees are more, right? Escrow fees really depends on the sales price of the home. Ask for the title rate sheets, or you can go on the title websites and you can plug in the information. It'll provide you with the escrow fees. Escrow fees are normally 50-50, so there should be some for the buyers and some for the sellers. Split it right down in the middle. Let's just say you're paying about $500. Just gives you guys a quote. Lender's title policy. This is going to be for the buyer side. Buyers are normally going to be the one that's paying for the lender title policy unless you negotiate otherwise. Now, if the contract for some weird reason says the sellers are paying for the title policy, the lender's title policy, then they are. But majority of the cases, I can't say 100% because all contracts are negotiable. Lender title policy is normally paid by the buyers because it has to deal with the loan, because it secures the lender on that. So the buyers are going to be the one that's paying for this. Buyer's closing costs we're including in the price. Title insurance policy. This is going to be the owner's insurance policy. Sorry, let's go. I don't like to use the buyer's closing cost line because there is another line right here that says less seller financing, and I like to use that one a little bit more. So we're going to skip by that. Title insurance policy, this is the owner title policy, basically based off of the sales price of the home. Pull up a title rate sheet, get an idea. Real property transfer tax, really simple. Normally negotiated that the sellers are paying for this. Every once in a while it could be 50-50, or the buyers can negotiate it as well. Really depends. This is pretty simple to do. $5.10 for every 1,000. Take 300K, purchase price, divided by 1,000, times it by 510. And I will give you your amount. Now, let me see if I can pull up a calculator really quick to do this. I don't want to minus out the screen, but let's just do this really quick. All right, let's pull up a Google calculator. So let's say 300K divided by $1,000 times $5.10 for every 1,000, 1530. Ooh, a little hefty fee there. 1530, sellers are going to be paying. Reconveyance fee, depending on the title company. Once again, if you want to just throw a quote in there, throw like $100. Prorations of interest and assessments is going to be for the buyer side. Most times you're not going to be paying for interest - assessments. Setup and collection fees, if the title company has any flood certification, normally on the buyer side. Now, if you're quoting for the listing agent, if you're quoting as the listing agent, once again, broker fees, transaction fees. I like to use just one of them. Most of the times we'll use a transaction fee. If you have a transaction fee, depending on what your company charges, $395, $495, $500, depending on what it is, you put it in here. Common interest community document fees, transfer fees. Now, for the document fees, basically gives you, it's like the resale package. It gives you the documentation that you need to provide over to the other party. If you're in the HOA, that the buyers have to receive. It ranges anywhere from $150 to $300 to $500. It really depends on the HOA. A lot of times, if you're taking a listing, it's good to ask the owners to know if they have the HOA information. It's always good to verify with the HOA how much everything costs. If you're just doing an initial quote, you might want to just throw in $300 because roughly average is going to be about there. A lot of times, I let my sellers know these are all estimates. It really depends on your HOA. A lot of these fees are title fees. A lot of these fees are HOA fees, nothing to do with us. It's hard for us to estimate other people's fees, but we like to do this as a courtesy just so they get an idea. And if you're a visual seller, you'd like to get an idea of roughly, generally, how much everything's going to cost. Transfer fee, probably looking about the same. Home inspection, unless it's negotiated that the sellers are paying for, normally the buyers are going to be paying for it. Home warranty, once again, another negotiable one. Home warranty, a lot of times it's really down the line. Buyers can pay for it. They can ask the sellers to pay for it. If for some reason they're asking the sellers to pay for it, you quote them there. Initial quote, we don't have to throw anything because it's all negotiable. This is one of the more negotiable ones, and it's kind of hard to use. If this is going to be after, if you're doing this net sheet after receiving an offer, then you can fill out more of these fields, like such as home warranty, such as repair, such as inspections, if for some reason it's negotiated on their end. Selling agent commission. Selling agent is the buyer's agent. They're the ones that's selling the home. If you're taking 3% of this, it'd be $9,000. Listing agent, if you're taking a full 3%, it's going to be $9,000. Boom. Gives you an idea, gives the sellers an idea of their total estimated cost is going to be about $22,000. And this is based off of nothing off of the RPA. This is just based off of general estimates. Go down to the second page. This breaks it down. Sales price $300K. Let's just say they have a $150,000 loan on it. You can put it in here. Boom, gives you a subtotal of that they're proceeding is going to be $150K minus their estimated closing cost of $22,000. They're netting about $127,000. It gives you a really great idea. If the sellers are wondering how much everything's going to cost, and you can play around with these numbers. If they're going to be like, hey, I want to make at least $128,000, then you got to raise this up by a little bit. If they're like, hey, we got $180,000 left on this loan. How much are we going to be getting afterwards? Well, not $1 million. That's way too much. That's going to be $97,000. Oh, wow, good numbers. Okay, last page here gives you an estimated cost net sheet glossary terms, which goes through all of the definitions of what everything is. So you have the Alta lender title policy insurance that protects the lenders against any claims that arises from argument of ownerships. This is normally paid by the buyers, regardless of what protects the lender. Appraisal fee, what's an assumption, what's a broker fee, what's a common interest community document fee, what's a transfer fee. Gives you everything here. It's great for the sellers to give this up in the beginning. It's also great to give it to them once again when they receive an offer, just to keep them more informed. And to have any questions, here's all the definitions. Even for you as an agent, if you don't know what something is, the definition's right here. It's great. Really useful form that a lot of people do not use, and I don't see net sheets being used a lot by many agents. It's one of those I like to keep it as a habit for our listings or for our buyers that we try to provide over a net sheet anytime they have anything regarding fees. Now, if you're working with a buyer, you don't really have to provide the net sheet unless for some weird reason the loan officer isn't doing it. If the buyers are buying with cash, then it's up to you to give them some sort of idea of the closing fees. If the buyers are buying with a loan, normally the loan officer will provide a loan estimate, which will have all the fees on there as well estimated. So you don't really have to do a net sheet if you're on the buyer side. You can, just to give an idea, but it's sometimes better to let the lender do it just so you're not confusing the buyers with multiple different fees. So majority of the time, about 90% of the times that we use the net sheet is going to be for the selling side. We try to use it as much as we can for the buyer side if we have to, but majority of the time it's going to be for the seller. So let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any questions. Feel free to email me. This is to help you guys out as agents. Let me know what other videos do you want to see, which other forms you want us to go over. Hopefully this helps out, giving you guys an idea how the net sheets are going to be used. Of course, if you guys have any problems, leave the comments down below. We can go over any questions you might have about this net sheets. I actually just noticed something really interesting. This actually breaks it down between non-recurring and recurring clause. Non-recurring, recurring, non-recurring. That's for another story. When we go over the purchase contract, we can go over more in detail what's the difference between recurring and non-recurring cost. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you guys next time.